All right.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Should we wait for people to join or start now?
I
It's
think we're
all
good.
good.
Start now? Cool.
Yep.
Welcome, everyone. Woo! Anyway, I'm Jade, she, they, and I'm the host for this panel. Before we start, I'd like to do an acknowledgement of country. For me, it's the Darawal people. That's where I live. I pay my respects to the elders past, present, and emerging, and all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. Their continued connection to land, sea, and community, and I acknowledge that this land always was and always will be Darawal land. Anyway, thanks to the panelists who are joining. How about we start with introductions for you guys?
All right. All right. So I'm coming from the United States. My name is Tiger Songbird. Uh, my pronouns go by he, him, and his. You can find me on Twitter at Tiger Songbird. I am pretty much a person who writes, tweets, and discusses all things asexuality and aromanticism. I also have a Substack online where you could just type my name, Tiger Songbird, at substack.com. I've written for multiple publications online, including LGBTQ Nation, one of the leading LGBTQ publications on the internet. I've written for multiple um, uh, publications online. I've also have my own muckrack, which has my list of, um, I guess, annotated bibliography of what I've written in the past. And I also help run the R Asexual subreddit on Reddit. It's something I created years ago, and now has gotten over 75,000 subscribers on Reddit alone. So, just in layman's terms, I'm a regular asexual dude who loves talking about asexuality, discussing things asexuality. I'll discuss my journey as we go forward from here, but just a person who discusses and tweets about asexuality and aromanticism along with other things. So, uh, just happy to be here.
Nice, thanks. And now, Marshall, you want to do
Sure.
yours?
My name is Marshall Blunt, aka the Gentle Giant Ace. I come from Pennsylvania, United States. I am from Erie, Pennsylvania, and I'm on the board of Asexual Outreach, and I am on my state's LGBTQI plus commission. And I also have a YouTube channel where I discuss my experiences being asexual in today's society. And you can find me on Twitter at Gentle Giant Ace, where I put out a lot of my experiences and um, education about asexuality. So it's so far a fun adventure.
Nice.
Right.
And now there's one other person. There's Cobra, but can't really join us here. So we've just got Marissa acting as the interpreter. So Marissa's the mod and will be acting as Cobra's mouthpiece, I guess. Nice.
Basically. And I'm very excited that I get to introduce Cobra, our final wonderful panelist. Cobra is a neurodivergent disabled person from New South Wales. They identify as gender fluid and Aero Ace. They helped on the Aussie Ace Week team in 2021, and they like a lot of different things such as animals, food, and head pats. They also like learning new things and being creative.
Nice.
All right.
Now that we've got all the intros done, we want to start questions?
Let's do it.
Yes.
Nice. So, basic one, just off the bat. Where is everyone from? What ethnicity are they?
I'm African American. I descend from people who came from like the great migration up north from the south, and I also have family from Canada and Appalachia.
Yes, I am African American myself. I am from Oklahoma. My family was born in the city of, uh, actually, a family comes from Texas, Tyler, Texas, moved up. My family are descendants of the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre that happened in the Black Wall Street within the city of Tulsa, where I am from. Um, so I am African American, and that's how I will say that's my culture, that's my country. So middle of America, right in the heartland, um, and I'm a Black person in the middle of the Bible Belt also. So that's another, factor in.
Mm. Cobra's answer ready?
Yep. Cobra wants to share that they are Jamaican and Indian.
Nice. So, what's everyone culture like? Just a general, starting off pretty general here.
Yeah, I would say I'm just trying to come in as audibly as I can, so I'm going to grab my mic from time to time as I get a little closer to my mouth. But um, for me, my culture is we're from the Bible Belt of Oklahoma, so that is a huge factor in and of itself. So grew up and going into the church, just like a lot of Black people in America. The church is very central to my lived experiences. So I lived in the Bible Belt, which had very traditional values of like marriage and family and everything like that. And then as I grew up, I kind of had to find my own, and eventually I've kind of, I guess I've left the church for years in that capacity, and then but those values still kind of ring in. So I'm a Black person in the United States also, which carries its own values with its own culture. Especially growing up, I grew up in on Black culture things, hip hop and R&B related music and television. So those values were very young, just kind of, I guess, ingrained in as to what being a Black person was supposed to be. So that's kind of how culture kind of worked for me. Being Black in America, there's just a lot of expectations that are thrown on the people, and especially being a Black, uh, and I identify as cisgender. I'm cisgender male, so there's a lot of um, expectations and that especially when it comes to sexuality, that you're supposed to act like. So there's a lot of things that are I stand kind of in contrast with, and that's kind of how culture works. And you know, if I grew up in another culture, I'm sure there'd be other ones, but this is mine in America.
Nice. Now, you wanna continue off of that?
Oh, I'm sorry. What was it said again?
Do you wanna continue
Oh.
off of that?
Oh yeah.
Sorry,
I grew up.
mine's being funny.
I grew up in Northwest. Well, I was born and raised in Northwest Pennsylvania, where it's rural, but I live in the regional center, where it's kind of like the only city within a 100-mile range, a major city, and it's definitely influenced the Black community here to be very close knit. But we have a lot of cultural similarities to the South because a lot of us are a couple generations into being here from Mississippi, so we still have a lot of connections to Mississippi and the traditional values down there. Um, it's definitely impacted the way I grew up, but it's definitely evolving as time goes on. The young generation is being it's definitely becoming more self-expressive now, which is nice for a change. But it's definitely church, cookouts, that type of thing. But slowly moving into us going, even attending like pride events and stuff, which is nice.
Nice. Now, Marissa, what does Cobra have to say?
Yep. Cobra said, I know more about Jamaican culture. It is very influenced by their slave trade and British colonization, but also has a deep connection to African heritage. It is very heterosexual and Christian influenced currently.
It seems like a lot of us are influenced by the sort of history behind our cultures. So, how has your how has your culture impacted you in your day-to-day life? Like, how has it impacted your view on relationships in general? Really?
Well, it's just like I think in through my teens, there was like an expectation of me. People wanted me to like date, and definitely the cultural expectations definitely impacted how I navigated that. But luckily, I had parents that weren't too pushy. Well, being pushy at all is not good, but they weren't. It wasn't to the point where I just like, it's unbearable. Um, but it's definitely, um, it's definitely a lot of barriers to break in terms of like navigating my culture, and just it's an ongoing process, definitely.
Nice. And now, Tiger, do you wanna do your response?
Yeah, for me, I guess culturally, um, I guess to piggyback off of that, I also grow up, my hometown of, I'm right outside the outskirts of Tulsa, which is a little suburb called Broken Arrow, um, and it's actually the fifth largest city in the state of Oklahoma. It's about 100,000 plus, so I shouldn't say a little suburb, but it is basically a suburb of Tulsa. So, and growing up in that, I was literally like the one black person almost everywhere, because like my town is 98% demographically uh, white Caucasian. So I grew up like the one black person pretty much almost everywhere I went. Like I was the one black person in all of my classes, taking APs. I was the one black person, pretty much in my social friends group, and pretty much still am. So growing up, I grew up around predominantly in just around wider culture, which had its own expectations because they didn't really have, a knowledge base with other black people, and I didn't have it either, because just wasn't that much. There weren't that many black people around. So when you're the one black person, you kind of are the representative of the entire, you know, black community. So it really puts a lot of pressure on your head to like represent greatly. But then still those stereotypes, because it's television, and when you don't grow up around a lot of you know diversity, you get your stereotypes from television and movies and music. And so with that in mind, a lot of people, like, when they would meet me, they would be astonished, stunned, that I wasn't like everyone on television. I'm pretty much kind of, I'm not a nerd like that, but I have some nerdy things. I love, like, I watch Jeopardy daily, and love game shows, and I love scientific things. I love documentaries. I love History Channel, and that's one of my favorite things to watch. Um, but I'm also like an athlete, a jock, and a geek, and at the same time. Um, so when you grow up around that, and people had a lot of different, um, they didn't really know how to fit me in. So I kind of became like a misfit in every different culture, because I wasn't like geek, like super geek, because I loved all different things. I was kind of a person that loved a lot of everything. Um, and then I was also at the same time, I was, um, you know, not stereotypically the black person being wild on television, trying to, you know, sleep around and stuff like that. I never was interested in that. And it made it a lot difficult to like find myself and find who I was as a person and who I am. Uh, because of that. So that really impacted a lot of it. Growing up in that milieu made it a lot, made me feel like I was kind of an outsider to like everywhere. So, quite frankly, that was, you know, it really did impact a lot of different things. Not so much just Black culture, but just, growing up where I'm from made it a lot easier. So, made it a lot more difficult to find me.
Yeah, makes sense. So, next panelist, how about you continue off of that? How's it asexuality impacted your day-to-day life and your culture?
Yeah, Cobra says there's a very narrow focus on gender roles and getting married, but also on extended families. But there's also a stigma or lots of gossip if you date a white person as a BiPOC person.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah.
Big time. Big time.
No.
Have all panelists spoken yet on this question, or?
I think we got a couple questions in on the Slido.
Yeah. So the first one that was sent in on Slido was, how did you come to the ace community? Like, how did you discover asexuality?
My sister, definitely my sister-in-law. I came out to her when I was 23, like 22 going on 23, and it was definitely one of those kind of like when I came out to her, she noticed that I didn't have the language to explain how I try to define that experience, and she literally sent me a Google link and was like, maybe this explains you. And when I read that Google link, it was like, yeah, that's me. And when that happened, it just opened up a wide avenue of just a journey into self-discovery. And it's one of those things it's definitely one of those things I'm still navigating. But just to have that information, I just feel freer than I did for the first 22 years of my life. Because I just entered 30, and I think one of my fears was back then was being at 30 and just like not being able to find a word to kind of express myself and also identify as. And yeah, it's definitely an ongoing journey there.
Yeah. I actually shared a little something in the private chat, which I guess we might be able to share with the rest of the group. So I actually wrote this about a few months ago. My experience, I'm going to kind of condense it as much as I can possibly do it. But if you want the full story behind it, I actually shared it. I write on my Medium page. I'm a better writer
I'll
than I
share
am.
it onto the BIPOC discussion on Discord for anyone who wants to see it.
Yeah. So I'm a better writer than I am a speaker. So bear with me as I try to condense this down. So yeah, I actually came to find out I'm ace when I was 26. So the people who keep trying to say it's a new teenage trend, I don't know what they're talking about because it took me till my mid 20s to figure that out. Just throwing at little bit of shade at those people, but yeah, I found out when I was 26. I literally was like searching for years though. I I remember actually telling my friends when I was 17 I didn't ever want to have sex. I didn't ever want to get married, and I didn't want to ever have kids. And my friends looked at me like I was an alien when I was 17. This was when we were graduating high school almost. And I'd been searching for years. And I just, a lot of, I actually almost thought I was going to find it out when I was 19, but no one really believed that asexuality was a thing. They kept telling me it was a thing that, plants are, and people were like, that's not real and stuff like that. And so kind of, people didn't really want to believe I knew who I was. And then I came out at 26 when I found out after looking back, and I actually found some old posts actually on Avon where I was actually describing exactly how I was feeling. And then I discovered some old videos on asexuality, and it's like this is exactly what I was looking for. This is what I feel. This is who I was. And it took it till 26 to really officially finally feel like, yeah, this is who I am. This is because I describe myself as everything. I describe myself as celibate. I describe myself as like not. I knew I wasn't straight, but I wasn't really gay, and I was like, I'm not really like, I don't know, like I was like, I'm straight. I'm not really good at it. Is what I kind of said at one time. Um, and then I found out at 26, like, yeah, this is exactly who I am. And then, at the same time, a couple years later, I actually discovered I'm aromantic, and that, I found out like there's differences in types of attraction, romantic, and what I've been feeling, and finally was able to process after finally having the time to introspect and finally, getting to that point. This is where this is who I am. This is, I am asexual. I'm ace, and this is where I fit. And after a long search and a lot of different things, a lot of emotional things, it was like a catharsis when I found out, and it's just like the sense of euphoria finally hit me when I found out.
Nice. Thanks for sharing. Does Cobra have anything to add?
Yep. Cobra said they came to the ACE community through watching LGBT plus memes and YouTubers.
Always the memes. Yeah. The amount of stories that are just different, I personally just really like that. Some are from memes, others, like you guys, are from different forums or people in your lives. Mine was from it being mentioned in a fan fiction once. So the amount of stories are really cool.
Yeah.
On that note, do you guys feel represented by asexuals in the media, just in general?
Not this might sound bad, but not necessarily, because for the time I was coming in the community, it's just been mostly predominantly white. Yasmin and the asexual goddess are the two primary people that are black and asexual that I came across. The medium I came across that popped out to me, that screamed, "Yeah, I'm not alone." I think asexuality, in terms of where I'm at, is definitely is an extension um, of predominant white society where I'm at, where most asexual fellow asexual people I meet here, they're white, and I'm one of the only black people, one of the openly asexual black people in my own community, and it's very frustrating. But I do see it changing as time goes on. I guess people say kind of be your own not inspiration, but be your own representation. But at the same time, it's kind of like that's lonely too.
Yeah.
That's very lonely.
Yeah. For me, I guess it's a two-part answer. I guess the main thing is like I wish I knew more asexual people in real life. That's just in general, because almost all of my connections with fellow aces are online, whether through Reddit, the R asexual Reddit subreddit, or on Twitter. Yeah, I having Yasmin as a Yasmin Benoit is a rock star. I agree, Digital Maui. Yes, she is a rock star. She actually helped me feel much more courageous in coming out, because it was like, um, having her be a face, and especially taking so much of the criticism she has, really helps me feel much more brave and courageous to do the same and step out and not feel, abashed when it comes to stepping out. But just having more people in general would be like that. Now, I guess in terms of representation with regards to media, which we'll have a panel on, I think tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did see the Big Mouth Netflix special, which was like, but it was only like one episode. Too often, I feel like, you know, maybe this is just me, but I just really would love a television show with an asexual lead
Same.
character,
Yes.
because there's so many times like the asexual character. Oh, we got the asexual character for one episode or like 10 minutes, like
It's the
Florence.
token just to say they're there.
Yeah,
I-
like Florence from Sex Education. That was just like a 10-minute blip and then done, and then she didn't even have a story or any storyline or backdrop or
Mhm.
backstory. Not any of that at all. So Big Mouth was the same exact way. It was just one episode, and it just didn't really um, lead to anything further out of that when I watched the rest of the season. Um, I appreciate when characters are doing that. I just really feel like, or when shows do that, I just really think we need an asexual lead character. Now, I'll get to my feelings maybe because I think I'll be in the asexuality and media panel tomorrow. Um, I'll get to my feelings on like how to change that or what my recommendations are um, with regards to that. Yeah, I agree. Heartbreak High. Shout out to the anime actually does exceptionally well with this. I'm finding anime is doing pretty well with this, but anime is not. I'd have to search for anime so often online. I do stream, but not on. I'm like when I talk representation, I'm talking like a mainstream, I guess, mainstream kind of television. Like something you would see
Because
on the
that
major
sort of
networks.
is sort of niche, I guess. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
makes sense.
It's like I hate that's one thing about scary thing about representation is when we have that that one episode or that 1 minute, and it is something like that house episode, which is very infamous to the community. That is still something that impacts us for decades because you still have people who think that way, and like that's one thing I wish people who are behind the scenes that would do is come to us activists. We have our content out in the public, and it's okay to
Mm-hmm.
it's that simple. Just reach out to us and just tell us about your character, and maybe not have a blip like that episode.
Yeah,
Make
I
them
think
a
like
character, make them a person, not just a token.
yeah, I think like Frances McDormand when she won for Nomadland, the Chloe Zhao directed movie a couple years ago, and she mentioned something that really stuck to my mind when it came to like how to get better representation, especially for women in television, which is vital, and movies, which is bring in inclusion writers. Like I think we need more like asexual writers and producers, directors. Like Alice Osman is amazing,
Yes.
but she can't be the only one um, creating content, especially with regards to asexual like characters and representation. So we need like more writers, which is something like I would love to get into. I'm a writer myself, so I may not have like the expertise in terms of media savvy, but I would love to like get into that and as a field to create more content and be able to create more well-rounded content that shows not only like a character where there's so much multi-dimensional factors with regard to that character, and asexuality is just a part of that as well. So to show that that's something that is a big deal. So in terms of feeling represented, I think we've all kind of answered the question. Nope. Sorry about that. But yeah, that's that's where we're at kind of in a moment. We're just
we just need more feed us.
yeah, we need more representation for sure. If you're a writer out there, work on your writing. I'm trying to work
Writing,
on
artists, if you want to be an actor, just anything.
Yeah, so that's
Everyone
for sure.
needs everyone.
Yeah, let's see. I think we have
Does
one.
Cobra have something to say about this?
Yes. Cobra said they feel a little bit represented, but they need more asexual content in mainstream. There are ace memes, some representation in games, but it's often small or not well known, especially if it's created by queer people.
Okay, so someone anonymously wrote in. I think someone anonymously wrote in.
Yeah, there
What a
was question. That being, does your asexuality ever make you feel detached or distanced from your culture?
I think because of the expectation of being married, having kids, well, which again, something that we can do in the community too, if people listen. But I think it does to a certain extent because it's kind of like when you say that you're asexual, it's kind of like, oh, like I've heard a few people saying in my own community that, but that's not something that we do, which is like, it's not something I'm doing, it's who I am. And it's, while I am connected to my culture very well, it's just I do often feel attached to it because of the expectations that are pushed on me since I was a toddler, which is something that people would freak out about. But the t-shirts that say like a lot of the typical slogans that are seen on t-shirts that they put on kids, usually that are pointed out as hypocritical. I had one of those shirts at one time, um, and and
Oh, you mean you
yeah,
even didn't tell me you had one of them shirts that said like heartbreaker and you're like an infant at 1 years old,
and
which is
then
really weird because like whose heart are you breaking? Or like
yeah, and then
no dating, hands off, mommy.
I'm thinking goodness that it was in the 90s, so no one was no like there was no picture of me with it, and I was kind of like, Mom, don't show that picture to no one because I'll actually rip it. But that's one of the primary reasons why I do put a disconnect. But I think the more education that I'm putting out there, it definitely helps um
Yeah.
navigate.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I've for the longest I've always felt disconnected with my culture. It's just, you know, I've always never felt like I really fit in and I never really had the words to figure it out. And then I did when I was 26, and then it only made me feel even more disconnected. Because like everyone else is so by my age, I think I probably most people have like kids in, kindergarten or in, grade school by now. Because I'm gonna turn, shockingly, this is pretty old, 33, in the next few months. So I'll be 33 years old, um, which I guess I kind of joke it's my Jesus age because that's like when he died. So I'm gonna be like gaining my superpowers of walking on water at that point. So, watch out because I can actually move across water now. So that's gonna be pretty awesome. But yeah, I'm gonna be at 33. Most people have already had kids. They're married, stuff like that. Um, shockingly, my group of friends, none of us are, which is pretty interesting. We're all pretty much like soloists. Um, but yeah, it's our culture doesn't reward being solo, which is even if you're not like it's not like doing anything wrong. It feels like you're committing a societal taboo by staying single, which is like really weird because it's like my desire and what I want to do. But it's like a lot of people think that's like, you know, going against the grain is always different. Being different is always, being a counterculture in that regard is always going to be difficult when you're like the first to do it. So like for me, I'm like one of the rare breeds. Like my friends even mentioned it's like, you're like the only person I know who could feel comfortable being single and being solo because like, I guess I guess it's a strength or something. It's like it's not really a strength. It's just me, it's just how I am. So I guess, even to them, it's they don't know how it works. They don't know how it can go. But it's just like one of those, hey, um, I do it. I like it. The question of whether it makes me feel bad, to feel detached or distance is not really a thing because it's more like I'm just living as me. As Jill Scott said in one of my favorite songs, I'm just living my life as golden. And that's how I take it.
Yeah. Anyone else want to add to that?
Yeah, Cobra had a response. They said, I feel disconnected from both Western asexuality and what asexuality means in my own culture. A lot of our African culture has been erased or assimilated, so I don't really have any role models or identities I can attach to. Asking about LGBT identities feels taboo, so I can't even ask my own culture's elders what the indigenous identities are. Also, my own culture has been colonized so much, I feel like introducing asexuality to my family or culture would be confusing. They won't be able to understand.
Yeah. It's always
sure.
a struggle, isn't it?
Mhm. Yeah. Um, so do we have any more questions?
Yeah.
Any comments?
Two more questions from the doc I have. So, what do you wish was more prevalent in the asexual community?
Uh, Definitely support, like in um just like a sense of togetherness. I feel like as someone who's black and asexual, I feel like a lot of the topics that a lot of things that we navigate, they only come up when it's trendy. Like in 2020, with everything happening with George Floyd, um, I feel like a lot of people try to listen to us then, but the once the that fizzled out, uh, I feel like we were left behind or just ignored. That's one thing that I wish that would change in the community, is that our experiences are not something that are trendy. It's something that we deal with every day, and I wish we just had the support as everyone else. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one thing I wish was more prevalent, that I definitely would agree with that. I think I'll throw another thing that we need is much more prevalent, is we need more um, real life meetups. Quite frankly, what I've noticed in the last few
Yes.
years is um, I follow a lot of people. I write about asexual topics, but I also write about all LGBTQ community topics, especially with the onslaught and just tidal wave of in America with regards to attacks against the trans community. Um, I follow and pay attention closely to try to be the best advocate and helper as I can. Um, so that's one big thing. But the community that is built within the trans community, within uh, those circles, extends to real life moments. Um, so there's a feeling of unity, solidarity, and the alone struggle, where help can be quickly happening. I've seen a lot of people, like, if they have to leave a certain state because the bills and laws against anti-trans laws, they will do so. And I think what we need more is creating that sort of network in and of itself, where a person from, let's say, Alabama could meet up with someone with California in quick action. We have a good online community, but we need a better uh, and offline community also.
Yeah.
So meeting and networking within that own set um, would be easier in an in an offline world. So yeah, that's a big deal. I've met so many great people. I even did I've done a couple podcasts. I was on Ace Dad Advice for a podcast this year. I was on last year with the Ace couple, were great. Courtney and Royce are fantastic. They had me on a year ago. I've been scheduled and slated to do other ones. Um, but nothing on that end, getting more representation. I actually enjoyed um, the Washington Post actually writing about asexuality this year for Valentine's Day, and I wrote a piece for Valentine's Day. LGBTQ Nation reached out to me and said, "Hey, would you like to do a piece?" And I did. Um, but it's still about you got to connect with other people on offline. So like I also like interact with like other people who are also child free, and that kind of works in that same degree. It's hard to meet other like child free people in the same capacity because it's like most of it is underground, but it's hard when you put a face to an identity and put a face to an orientation. It makes it a lot more visible for other people to see it. So I think that's one big thing, is to get out to in real life. Um, I've also the same exact thing with like I'm not a big fan of pop culture. I do love pop culture and I do love following it, but like getting more visibility in pop culture as well is another thing.
Yeah. And just personal thing to add to that, I've been to a couple small ACE meetups in Sydney actually. So a couple people on a Sydney ACE group chat will just be like, "Hey, do we want to see the movies?" So it's nice. I can personally say it is nice having the real life connections and to visibly see that you're not alone. But on the other hand, I am the only person most of the time to be of my race and ethnicity. So Cambodian and Greek, not the most common mix. So especially Cambodian and my area, which is fun. Yeah. Does Cobra have anything to add?
Yep, they want more they want more resources for BiPOC families and positivity or representation about ace platonic friendships or QPRs, etc.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
Definitely.
Yeah, most certainly.
Having resources is definitely something that is desperately needed. Yeah. On to the next question.
What we got?
How do you think we can become more connected as a community?
I think definitely to piggyback up the last question is definitely to do like more like physical like meetings, like ace meetups. Like I was planning on doing like a pop-up ace meetup, and like a place where I could actually educate people on like asexuality, and also to make sure that to show people that we're here, but also to show that um, that we are also not just this that there are black and brown asexual people here too. Like even though it's 2023, there's still a perception on from people who know about asexuality who are not asexual who still think that it's a white thing when it's not true, or when it's not true.
Specifically a white teenage thing, which is
Yeah. I think we're getting better, honestly, though. Like,
Yeah.
I want to also like make it, abundantly clear. Like when I was, when I was coming out, there were no like, there were no videos on asexuality that were like
Mhm.
big on places like YouTube. And as much as I try to not be on YouTube for a whole host of reasons, because I just don't really like making videos. I'd rather
Fair
write.
enough.
I'd rather write. I'm just a writer by trade, so I don't really like to make videos unless like I'm a guest. So I tend to write. That's like my medium. Um, so I do think we need like on that end. I do think we do need YouTube creators. I do think there's a space for YouTube creators, writers, all of that. I just think when it comes down to like everything within it, I think we all honestly just need to like get together and like realize, hey, we are on the same team. We've had a little bit of a little friction of somewhat, especially as micro labels kind of come in and go. So I would love to see like, hey, regardless of the micro labels, we come together as a team uh, for this, our sole purpose, which is why I love this conference. I want to say like we're getting a lot better with that because there just weren't conferences. There were no like videos. I was watching a video by some gigantic YouTuber, like millions of views, and they did have like a black asexual and a black aromantic person, and they had an entire array across the board of like all different um, you know shades of the spectrum, and that was really great to see that because it really showed like they really did their home research. So I do think like one thing we need to do to also be connected in community is like if they're going to be within our community talking like about us, we need to like really make sure that it's fully representative. Like, even on my end, just talking as one, we're one, two, three, four, five of us talking about like the BIPOC experience. Um, we need like I'd love to see like a bigger forum, a bigger symposium with regard to that. And I think in that end, that really does like connect more. When you get like more people in the room, we can all like share multiple experiences because like my experience will probably obviously be different from someone who's from Japan and is
Yeah.
sexual. So someone who's from um, you know, like South Africa or something like that. So like getting all of us in one space really does matter a great deal. That's why I love this conference a lot, and why I wanted to participate because it was able to get so many different voices in, and then being able to like realize as we write it, we can go forward with that. Working for TAP, the Ace and Arrow Advocacy Project, we all come together from like all different spots. but even then it's not the largest representation because like it's not well known. We also need to like get more recognition and make our brands known. Not too many people know about Tap, not too many people know about um you know other gigantic platforms. The Ace couple is starting to get more name brand recognition, but it's still like not fully out there. We need to start pushing us out there. When I created our Asexual, I wanted those, platforms to be able to like feel free to host, share, and create your brand and create your content and then share it. So we also need to like share and be able to platform our own selves also. So um, I think that's something we need to get better at. It's like we need to platform our own selves and then put our own brand out there so that people can see it. And then also like support it, support the brand, support the creators. So that's a big deal to me.
Yeah, definitely. Just lifting up everyone is just really important, especially since, again, you're saying that asexuality isn't really that known. I remember at the Mardi Gras parade, I talked to this older man who was really nice, but he mentioned that asexuality was the last taboo, so to speak.
Like it's coming out. Like
It's coming out, but it's like the
it's
last
still.
thing to be like widely recognized, and
Yeah.
pushing people's voices, I feel, is really
Yeah. I still get a lot of people who are like very like when I wear my pins out in public to the grocery store, they're like the majority of people are like, oh, that's cool. When they learn about it, when I educate them very quickly about it, but you still get a lot of people who are like, why do you need to put a label on yourself? And I'm like, because it's who I am is not who I am, and who possibly thousands of millions of people are not known yet, and it's not a bad thing to educate people about communities. And yeah, when you said that, it really um, brought a lot of my experiences out in terms of like when I had to navigate people who were very obtuse about getting to know asexuality and asexual people.
Yeah.
definitely. Does Cobra have anything to say?
Yep. They said, I find that local Facebook or meetup groups or clubs, first online, then IRL work, then it's not a one-time thing.
Yeah. And that's all the pre-prepared questions I had. We've got an anonymous question here. So, do you guys have any recommendations for BiPOC Aces to follow outside of Twitter?
Me?
Me.
Yes.
No,
You
you could.
definitely follow you after this.
Yeah, I if you're looking outside of Twitter, I have a Mastodon as well, so I'm kind of going other places. I understand the feelings of like looking outside of Twitter when you don't know what that's going to be like. So yeah, I have my Substack. I might be able to share it and some of my resources in my Mastodon and where I write at. I'm kind of getting that started off the ground. Maybe I'm thinking of trying to create a podcast as well. So for that. So yeah, that's a good place. I always say Reddit. There are a lot of people on Reddit, whether that's the R Asexuality or R Asexual, where I am at. You can find me there as one of the moderators for R Asexual as well. I'll be also there. Those are really good spots to really meet a ton of other aces because they're pretty big as groups. Reddit, like the Reddit subreddits, are really great and they're very like I wouldn't say they're control corners or anything like that, but they're like avenues where you can hang out at. Not too many places on the internet kind of have that. And then I know we have like a couple Instagram pages out there, so that's kind of my recommendation. Uh, I guess the main thing is just kind of meet other BIPOC people. I know General Giant has his YouTube page. I know he'll probably share that. So just kind of meeting with that. that's kind of one exact that kind of thing. So just we're still getting used to kicking this off the ground. I'm sure there'll be a lot more people who will recommend. But I'll just kind of throw my name out there. I know a few more. So
Yeah.
just feel free, holla at me. Reddit, Mastodon, my Substack. I'll be out there. So
Yes, same here. Like you can find me on TikTok at Gentle Giant Ace. You can find me on Facebook at Marshall John Blunt. Blount is my last name. And also I am a board member of Asexual Outreach, and the website is asexualoutreach.org. We it's a good place to find our connection and to dive into asexual activism. I do YouTube videos at Marshall John Blunt, where I share my experiences with being asexual, and I've been taking a break off of YouTube. A lot of tension has been happening on YouTube, but within a month or so, I'll get back to it. And of course, I know you said outside Twitter, but you can find me at Gentle Giant Ace on Twitter. But yeah, I'm pretty much across the board. I'm definitely trying to get into Mastodon, and I'm on Tumblr.
Nice. For me, you can find me. You can't. I don't really have much of a media presence, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm kind of new to the whole ace sphere and community since online spaces can be a little scary sometimes. So I've been a little intimidated, but yeah. I am glad that I have gotten into it though, because I get to meet you guys and people in the Discord, and it's just the community is really, really nice to have. So yeah. I don't have much to add, sorry.
No, yeah. So I just kind of shared some of my information, some of my content out there for everyone to kind of go out there and kind of follow. So myself and Ace Gentle Giant, Ace also did the same thing. So yeah, you'll find me. I'm kind of see if I can start this podcast. I'm not really used to doing podcasts where I speak up on a lot of different things, but yeah, I'll get getting that started as well. So I hope to meet you guys. I hope to see everyone who is on this join us up, because this will be really great to see y'all.
Yes.
And then have a grand time and everything like this. So appreciate y'all for joining us out here. I know it's depending on where you're at, it's either really, really late, probably feeling like you're drowsy, or it's an entirely different day right now.
Yeah, it's 11:30 in the morning for me. So
Ooh.
Yeah, I normally can't even wake up before noon. So I mean, I am a night owl. So you were up a little earlier than even I could be. So
especially on the weekend.
Oh man, yeah, I know.
I got up early for this. I'm proud of myself.
Yeah. So yeah, that's appreciate y'all. Y'all got any more comments, or just want to have anything else to mention?
Last chance to send in questions, either here or the Slido, preferably.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention for the earlier question that Cobra had said they didn't know anyone. So obviously all of these being shared is appreciated by, I think, a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, someone said, "What's it like in the future?" It
is
technically y'all are. Yeah, technically y'all are in the future. That's not. I'm in a way distant past. I'm in a different. I'm a day behind y'all.
Yesterday. Yeah. But,
so.
Yeah, it's kind of cloudy here in the future. Hopefully it doesn't rain when I'm going to the in-person events, because that'll be not fun.
Yeah. All right. So just want to make sure before we close this out, make sure you follow the other live streams. There'll be other live streams throughout the entirety of this day. You can
everyone. Everyone's worked hard.
there will be more discussions, more online panels. There'll be Discord discussions if you don't want to do the Discord discussions. Just make sure that when you click on one of the events, make sure we're in a chat. Want to make this as a nice and pretty much follow the golden rule. Golden rule when it comes to treating others with respect and kindness when we get in the chat. So I realize I may be asking a lot of a YouTube comment section to be real nice, but I think we can do it. I think we can make that work, right? So
World peace.
World peace, like Miss Congeniality. So I love that film. So yeah, we will. I'll be in some other different discussions as well as the day goes on. I will join you guys, and hopefully you guys have a good day.
Me too.
Stay safe,
Or
be
not.
well. Stay safe, be well, and
Yes.
Yeah.
We out. Aces up.
Yep.
Yes.
Thanks everyone for coming. Bye.
Deuces.